So here we go. New Mishnah. Yom Tov Rosh Hashanah shechal liyos b'Shabbos. The Mishnah says that Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos. But Mikdash Token in the base of Mikdash they would blow the shofar. V'alo Medina. But you don't blow the shofar in the any side anywhere in the cities. It means literally, but anywhere outside of the or in the country, but anywhere outside of the base of Mikdash. The Gemara is going to talk about that. Mishachar base of Mikdash, when the base of Mikdash was destroyed, Hiskin Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai she toikin b'chol makom. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said that you would blow. He made a takana that they blew the shofar everywhere. Sheyosh b'chol makom sheish bo Beis Din, any place that there was a Beis Din. So there was no longer a Beis HaMikdash, but if there was a Beis Din in your city, you would be allowed to blow the shofar. If it didn't have a Beis Din, you would not blow the shofar. Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar said, "Lo hiskin Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai ela b'yavne belvad." At that point, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, when the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, so the Beis Din, the main Beis Din, supposed to be the Beis Din HaGadol. So the Beis Din HaGadol was in Yavne. So he said it was only in Yavne specifically that he allowed the shofar being blown on Shabbos, not in every city. So that was the opinion of Rabbi Lazar. Amr Lo. They said back to, why is my, I'll do it this way. So they said back to Rabbi Lazar, Chachamim, once I get my computer to work, normal, there we go. They said back to Rabbi Lazar, no, it wasn't just in Yavne. It was in every single place. Sheish ba basin. Every single place that has a basin. Va'od zos ha'isar Yerushalayim Yisrael Yavne shekol irsh he roa v'shemas v'krov v'yichol lavo token. Not only is again Rabbi Lazar's opinion. Rabbi Lazar's opinion is that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai only allowed blowing the shofar on Shabbos after the destruction in Yavne, specifically in Yavne. However, the Chacham disagreed and they said it was in any city that had a Beis Din. And that now they continue and they say not only are what we're saying true, but Yerushalayim is even better than Yavne in the sense that any city, any city that is in view or close by to Yerushalayim was allowed to blow the shofar as well. But in Yavne they only did it in the Beis Din. I don't think it means in the Beis Din itself, but it means in that city. It says that it blew it only in Beis Din. I'm not sure if that means in Beis Din itself. Does it say there? It means in Beis Din itself, or it means in the city?
I mean the court.
It says in the court itself?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how he interprets it.
Okay. To see. Kevin. Okay. Let's go on. We'll go into the Gemara. We'll see. Says the Gemara. Minahani Mili. How do we know this? Amar of Levi bar Lachma, Amar of Chama bar Chanina. How do we know that that you wouldn't be blowing the Beis Din the shofar on Shabbos? Kasav Echad Omer Shabbason Zichron Trua. The pasuk calls it a Zichron Trua, a remembrance of a Trua. Because of Echad Omer Yom Trua Yalachem, and another pasuk says it's a Yom Trua. So you have two different psukim referring to how the day coordinates with the shofar. So this is lokasha. Kan be Yom Tov shechal liyos b'Shabbos, kan be Yom Tov shechal liyos b'chol. It depends. If Rosh Hashanah is falling out on Shabbos, so then it's a zichron trua. It's a remembrance of the trua. You don't do the trua itself. But if it falls out on Chol, obviously, if it falls out on one of the weekdays besides Shabbos, so then if Rosh Hashanah falls out on Sunday through Friday, then we do, of course, do the shofar. So Amar Rava. So Rava doesn't like that approach that Rabbi Levi bar Lachma said, because for the following reason, even if you're trying to tell me that there is a verse in the Torah that tells us not to blow the shofar on Shabbos, how were they blowing it in the Beis HaMikdash? the Mishnah clearly states that in the basic dish they did build the shofar on Shabbos. If the Torah is saying that there is no shofar, there's no mitzvah of shofar, it's a zichron shua, that the shofar mitzvah of shofar only applies from Sunday to Friday. So why were they blowing in the basic dish? Where did that come from? Ve'od. Furthermore, what's the problem with blowing the shofar on Shabbos? Halav malachahi. It's not a malacha. The itzrach lemute. That you need the pasuk to come and tell you not to blow it. Meaning, what would be the what's the problem with blowing the shofar? The Tana, the Beis Shmuel, kol malacha avoda lo sasu. The pasuk says any malacha avoda you can't do. It says yatzasa tkiya shofar or diasa pashihim chachma ve'ena malacha. This excludes, which meaning this you can do. This excludes tkiya shofar and radias apas, which are chachmas and not malacha. Okay, so what that means is radias apas. First of all, radias apas, you can actually see a video of somebody sent me a video of it. It's pretty incredible. There are some remote places that still do something similar to it, but they would actually cook bread by slapping the dough onto the walls of a stone oven. There was a certain skill in the way it was done, and it had that was the way they did it, and it had a certain skill to it, and taking it down was also a skill. So, Radias Hapas, there's no problem theoretically with taking the bread off the oven if you had to put on before Shabbos. There'd be no problem with doing it. Similarly with shofar, there's no malacha involved in blowing a shofar. What's the malacha? Making noise. There's no malacha involved in blowing a shofar. However, Chazal said both of these have a skill set to it that they made an issa d'Rabbanan. They made a gezerah against blowing the shofar or pulling off the bread on Shabbos. Again, of course, presuming that the bread was put on right before Shabbos. You can't put it on Shabbos and bake bread on Shabbos. But if it's put it on and you want to take it down on Shabbos, so that's aser. It's an issa d'Rabbanan. And blowing the shofar is a chachma. It's a skill, and Chazal prohibited it on Shabbos d'Rabbanan, not that it's prohibited d'Oraisa. So Rava comes and attacks the two different points for the pasuk that was brought that prohibits blowing the shofar on Shabbos. Point number one is if there's a prohibition to blow the shofar on Shabbos, where did you get that in the Beis Hamikdash it's permitted? Point number two is there's no malacha here. I mean, blowing the shofar is not a malacha. What are you doing wrong already? You're not doing any one of the 39 malachas. What are you doing wrong? It's a skill. It's not a malacha. So Chazal prohibited because of a skill. Ella Amar Rava. Rather, Rava says that's not the reason why it's prohibited on Shabbos. Midaraisa Mishra Shari. Biblically, you are allowed to blow the shofar on Shabbos. The Rabbanan who degazube. It was the Rabbanan that made a gezerah. Kidaraba Damaraba, as Rabba says, Akol chayavim b'tkiyah shofar. Everyone is chayav to blow a shofar. However, ve'ena kol b'kiyin b'tkiyah shofar. But not everyone is able to blow a shofar. So since that's true, Chazal made a gezerah. Shema yitlana b'yadav v'yilach etzel habaki lomod v'avirani dalad amos b'shus harabim. It says because everyone is obligated to blow, maybe you'll find yourself in a situation where you have a shofar on Shabbos, but there's no one to blow. So you're going to take the shofar and say, look, I got to get the shofar to someone who can blow for me. And you'll find a way to justify in your head, one, carrying it on Shabbos. And therefore there's a gezerah not to blow the shofar on Shabbos, lest you come to walk outside in a public domain with the shofar and carry it to someone who can help you by blowing it for you on Shabbos. And it says, the Gemara says, the Hainu time in Delulav, Hainu time in the Megillah, and this is indeed the same reason why we don't read Megillah on Shabbos and why we don't shake a lulav on Shabbos, because we're afraid you're going to take them outside and carry it for Amos and Rosh Hashanah. We are now on the first wide line. Continuing the next piece of the Gemara. Mishachav Beis Hamikdash Hiskin Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. The Gemara says when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai made a takana to blow the shofar outside in any city that has a Beis Din, and there was a machlokas if was it only Yavna? Is it any city that has a Beis Din? Gemara continues. Toner Rabbanan. It happened once. Pamachas Chal Rosh Hashanah Lios b'Shabbos. That Rosh Hashanah once fell out on Shabbos. V'hayu kola ha'arim miskansen. And all the cities gathered around to come hear the shofar. Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai lebnei Beseira. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said to the bnei Beseira, Niska, go. You should blow the shofar, even though it was Shabbos. Amar lo, nidan. They said we want to chashbon it out. We should chashbon it out if even though there's a basin, the bnei Beseira had a basin there, we should chashbon out if we should still be blowing the shofar after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, or is there a reason not to blow it because of a gezerah? We want to think it through before. So Amar Lahem, so Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, Niska ve'achachnita, blow the shofar and then work it out. For previous, for what do you call it? For subsequent years, then work it out. However, blow the shofar now. Everyone is already here and waiting to hear the shofar. So they acquiesced. La'achar shetaku, after they blew the shofar. Amru lo. So the bnei Beseira said to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Nidan, let's now go through the halacha and see if we should be doing this for future years. Amar lahem. What are you talking about? Why would we think it through now? Why would we think it through now? We already blew it, so it's over. So, huh? So we usually say madahava. Look, it's already passed. What's the point? There's no point in talking about it. We did it, so it's a done deal.
They're called OBE.
What's OBE?
Overtaken by events.
Overtaken by events, yeah. Why? What's the Rashi says the reason is that if we start to talk about it now, so and we come to the conclusion that we did the wrong thing, so look, it's going to be disgraceful for us. We're going to keep it. We're going to keep it as is. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was just strategic in the way that he dealt with the bnei Beseira. Amar Rabbi Lazar, we're 4 lines from the bottom. Amar lo Rabbi Lazar ben Amar lo Rabbi Lazar lo iskin Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai el biyavne bavad. Amar lo echad biyavne ve'echad kol malkam sheish habezin. We quoted the Mishnah. This machlok is between Rabbi Lazar and the Chachamim. Did Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai make a takana to blow the shofar in only Yavne, the city of Yavne, where the Beis Din Hagadol was at that time, or was it in any city that has a Beis Din? Amrulo. So now the Gemara elaborates on their discussion. Amrulo. I'm sorry. The Gemara questions. If you look at the Mishnah started off by saying just anonymous, like an anonymous, like a stam reason, a stam halacha that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said that you would blow the shofar in any place that has a Beis Din. Then it quoted Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, who says no, it was only Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said only in Yavne. Then it quoted another the Rabbanan that says no, it was any place that had a Beis Din. So the Gemara says you quoted 3 opinions, and number 1 and number 3 were the same. Amrulo, Hainu Tanakama. The Amrulo and the Tanakama would have said the same exact thing. But it says no. Igibanayu Beid Dina Dakroi. A Beis Din that was an ad hoc Beis Din. It was put together temporarily. So according to the Tanakama, he said any place that has a Beis Din, so if a temporary Beis Din was put together, you could blow in that city. However, according to the Rabbanan, at the very end of the Mishnah, that would not suffice. It would have to be a place that has a Beis Din kavua like Yavne, Yerushalayim. He gave us this example, a Beis Din that is always there. Last line in the Gemara. Amr about to turn the page. Amr lo echad b'yavne echad b'chol malcham sheish lo Beis Din. Amr Rav Huna. Rav Huna says, turning the page. The im Beis Din, it says with a Beis Din. He said with Beis Din. My v'im Beis Din. What does it mean? He added to the Mishnah v'im Beis Din, and it has to be with the Beis Din. So the Gemara asks, "My v'im Beis Din? What do you mean by v'im Beis Din?" Bifnei Beis Din. It means that you have to do it in front of the Beis Din. You have to do it in front of the basin. So it's not just that you could blow it in the city that has a basin. It has to be done in the presence of the basin. Lafuki shelo b'fnei basin delo, which comes to exclude that if it's not in the presence of basin. Matzev Rava asked a question. But the Mishnah says that Yerushalayim had an advantage that Yavna didn't have. That even though the Beis HaGadol was in Yavna post the destruction of the temple, the Beis still stumbling on my words. I'm sorry. My mind is still. First of all, my ears haven't even popped yet, and my mind is still just from that flight. So like my head is very foggy. But the Beis HaGadol, even though the Beis HaGadol was in Yavna at the time, still the Gemara records at the end that according to the Rabbanan, Yerushalayim had an advantage that any place that was in view of Yerushalayim was able to conduct themselves like Yerushalayim and blow the shofar in the city. So, and again, of course, this means on Shabbos. So, v'odzos ha'is Yerushalayim yisrael yavna. My v'odzos. What does it mean v'odzos? What does it mean that Yerushalayim had an advantage that Yavna didn't have? Ilema kedetani. If it's like you said that it is, that it. 1 second. Ilema kedetani. If it was like you said before, I'm not sure what that would is. Zosmi boile, meaning. I'm not sure what the Gemara's question is over there. How does it translate that question? I don't have a Rashi doesn't say so.
This is additional.
Yeah, it says Zosmi boile. Not the literal translation. Does it have a note? Oh, it's a different tonality. Zosmi boile. It should have said, and this. Yeah, and this. I'm not exactly sure the connotation of the question, exactly what the strength of that question is. But either way, well, let's go on. El Yerushalayim token yechidin, ubiyadna ein token yechidin. It says in Yerushalayim they would blow as individuals, meaning you didn't have to. It's because the city had a beis din. Because the city had a basin, even the individuals were able to blow on Shabbos. Only with in front of the basin. The Gemara says, is that true that individuals wouldn't be able to blow the shofar on Shabbos unless you were actually with the basin itself? You couldn't blow it at home. Again, as opposed to Yerushalayim, where on Shabbos after the destruction, you'd be able to blow the shofar on Shabbos in your home. Vaha ki also Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef Amar ki misayim shlichut tzibur tkiya biyavne. Lo shama inish kal onaya mikal tokia dichidoi. He says when the shliach tzibor would finish blowing the shofar in Yavne, a person couldn't hear his own voice from all the noise of all the different blowings that would happen in Yavne. So you see that everyone was blowing the shofar in Yavne. Ella. Lav Yerushalayim token ben bisman bezdin ben shelo bisman bezdin ubiyavne bisman bezdin in shelo bisman bezdin lo. So now the Gemara wants to suggest that what it means is with the bezdin is you were able to blow the shofar at the same time in Yavna. You were able to blow the shofar at the same time as the bezdin, as opposed to Yerushalayim. You could blow the shofar. All Shabbos, whatever it is. So the Gemara says. Ha bizman bezdin miyat token va'afilu shelo b'fnei bezdin. It says ha bizman bezdin token va'afilu shelo b'fnei bezdin. So don't you see then that they were able? So it's you see that they could blow it at the time of the bezdin did it. But even if you weren't in the presence of the bezdin, lo the ilu Yerushalayim token ben b'fnei bezdin shelo b'fnei bezdin or v'yavne b'fnei bezdin in shelo b'fnei bezdin lo. In Yerushalayim you could do it both at the same time as the bezdin did it, and not at the same time, you can do it all day. But in Yavne, you are only able to do it. You are only able to do it with the presence of the Beis Din. One second, I want to see something. One thing I want to see. One second. It's throwing me off. I don't know if we even have an article here. Oh, here it is. I got it. Give me 1 second, please. Smoke him if you got him. We're taking an intuition before I get myself lost. Here we go. Okay. Go up to the Yidden. No, let me look at this here for a second. Yeah. So the Gemara, the Gemara is coming. No, the Gemara is coming. The Gemara is coming at the end of this with the back and forth. I got a little lost in the back and forth, but the Gemara is coming back at the end of this that it has to do with the presence of Beis Din and not the time of Beis Din. Okay. The Gemara. So the Gemara says, yeah, Iga Damasni. Let me pick this one. The Gemara says, Iga Damasni. Once they find the place, Iga Damasni lahad Rav Huna. Aha. There are those that taught Rav Huna's statement of Rav Huna's statement going on the following law. That it says on Yom Kippur you should blow the shofar in all of your cities. And again, this is what we're talking about Yovel. You blow you blow the shofar of Yom Kippur, of Yovel on Yom Kippur. You could understand from that verse that every individual has to blow a shofar on Yom Kippur of Yovel. Rav Huna. So Rav Huna, in this version, Rav Huna is teaching on that halacha, the following, the same thing he said, we quoted him as saying earlier, but here now we're applying that statement, saying, when he said that statement, V'im Beis Din, in the presence of Beis Din, that meant specifically the shofar of Yovel on Yom Kippur, V'im Beis Din, which is going to fit like a glove. V'im Beis Din. My V'im Beis Din, Bizman Shebeis Din. Bizman Beis Din. That means that only at the time that there is a Beis Din, Lafuki Shelo Bizman Beis Din, to exclude that that a time when Beis Din's not in session, that the Beis Din's not, you don't blow the shofar. So the Gemara says, is that true? Masav Rava. Tekiyas Rosh Hashanah v'Yovel dochas haShabbos. Big Gvulin. Tekiya of Rosh Hashanah and Yovel will override Shabbos in the cities. Ishu Beso, for each person and their household. And so my Ishu Beso, Ileme Ish v'Ishto, if it means Ish Ubeso, means a man and his wife are both able to override the halachas of Shabbos in order to blow a shofar. It says, "Is a mimechayva? Is a woman technically obligated in blowing a shofar that it should override Shabbos?" It says ha mitzvah aseshes man gramahi. The mitzvah aseshes man grama nashim peturos. That's a mitzvah aseshes man grama. Again, it's a time-bound mitzvah. Women are not technically obligated in the fact that they do it today. Is that they generally speaking go hear shofar. That's voluntarily, but they're not technically obligated to hear shofar because it's a mitzvah aseh shazman grama. So since it's a mitzvah aseh shazman grama, they're exempt. So how can it override Shabbos? Ela lav ish bebeis. So what does it mean that a man and his household could override Shabbos for the shofar? Ela lav ish bebeso va'afilu shelo bizman beis din. Meaning, it means that even outside of the time that Beis Din does it, that a person doesn't it? Isn't that what it means? That outside of the time that Beis Din does it, a person can blow the shofar. Because no, lo olam bizman Beis Din. It means only when the Beis Din is in session, but you don't have to come before Beis Din. You don't have to do it in front of Beis Din. Okay. I should have had someone else do today. I need more sleep. I got in really late. I got no sleep. Okay, again. So Masav Rav Sheshes, the Gemara asks. The Gemara asks on this version rather. So yeah, Masav Rav Sheshes. Shavai Yovel Rosh Hashanah Tekiya lebrachas. Yovel and Rosh Hashanah are similar when it comes to tekiya and brachas. We said that earlier in the Mishnah. Elashi Yovel token bo bebezdin shekichu bo as a chodesh. Bebezdin shekichu bo as a chodesh. Ben bebezdin shelo kichu bo as a chodesh. V'chol yachad v'yachad chayav letkoa. Ubrosh Hashanah lo token ela bebezdin shekichu as a chodesh. Ve'en kol yachad v'yachad chayav letkoa. But bezdin on Yovel rather, we blow the shofar in a bezdin that is makadesh l'chodesh. And in any beis din, even if they were not makadesh l'chodesh, and every individual has to blow shofar on Yovel on Yom Kippur that falls out that Yovel falls out on Yom Kippur. They all have to blow the shofar. But Rosh Hashanah only a beis din that is makadesh l'chodesh, meaning the beis din that declared Rosh Chodesh, that declared Rosh Hashanah, they blow the shofar on Shabbos, but not every yachid. So my ain kol yachid v'yachid chayav letkoa. What does that mean that every individual doesn't have to blow? So it says ilema the Yovel token yechidan or Rosh Hashanah ein token yechidan. Do you mean to say that on Yovel, Yom Kippur, that Yovel falls out on, every yachid blows the shofar, but on Rosh Hashanah they don't? V'haki asar of Yitzchak bar Yosef. Amar ki have a Messiah shlichut tzibur tekiya biyavne lo shama inish kol unya mikol tekiya dichidoi. We already said that when they finished blowing when the shliach tzibur finished blowing the shofar in Yavne, you couldn't hear your own voice because of all the shofars being blown throughout the cities. Elalav the ilu biyovel token ben bizman bezin ben shelo bizman bezin or Rosh Hashanah bizman bezin and shelo bizman bezin lo. But rather, isn't the reason, like we said, that in Yovel we blow the shofar both at the time Beis Din is blowing the shofar and even when Beis Din is not blowing the shofar, meaning we blow it at any time of the day. I lost the place. Hold on a second. We only do it at the time Beis Din is doing it, and not at the time. And not when Beis Din is not doing it. Again, this is all referring to when it falls out on Shabbos. The Gemara says, "Lo katana mi." Sorry, that's not that low. Is part of it. I'm sorry. In Shlo B'zman Beis Din lo katana mi as biyovel ben B'zman Beis Din ben Shlo B'zman Beis Din. So either way, what you see here is that in Yovel you're able to blow it both at the time of Beis Din does it and not at the time. The Gemara says lo la'olam bizman Beis Din. Really, you can only blow the shofar on Yom Kippur that falls out on Yovel at the time Beis Din's doing it. And this is what it all means to say. Be Yovel. Bizman Beis Din token ben b'fnei Beis Din ben shelo b'fnei Beis Din. Rosh Hashanah token and Yovel you can blow the shofar. You can blow the shofar at the time Beis Din blows the shofar, whether you want to do it in front of Beis Din or not in front of Beis Din. Rosh Hashanah token and Rosh Hashanah you blow the shofar bizman Beis Din at the same time Beis Din blows the shofar ubifnei Beis Din, but only in front of Beis Din, meaning you have to be in the presence of Beis Din. Itmar nami amar of Chia bar Gamda amar of Yossi Bashol amar Rebbe. Ein token ela kozman shebeis din yoshvin. You can't blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah that falls out on Shabbos, except at the time that Beis Din is in session. By Reb Zera, ninaru la'amod v'lo amdu mahu. Beis Din yoshvin bi'inan va'ika odilma bizman Beis Din bi'inan v'leika. If they got up to leave the Beis Din. Is that what that means? Yeah, they're already done to leave the basin. Are you still able to? You're in front of a basin, but the basin's no longer sitting. They're like ending session. Are you still allowed to blow the shofar or not? And the Gemara says, take you. It is unresolved. Meaning, is that still considered in front of a basin?
And the basin sit on Shabbos.
Basin did not. The basin did not generally sit on Shabbos, but here, that's good. Here they were doing it. I guess just for the shofar. Yeah.
Because of Yomi.
This is talking about on Rosh Hashanah, no? Well, I guess it would be both. It would be both. Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't have to do it. Or didn't have.
Yovel, yeah. Yeah. The Gemara says, there was an advantage of Yovel there was an advantage of Yerushalayim to Yavne, which we said is that anybody that could see Yerushalayim, could hear it, and it was near it or anything like that, was able to blow the shofar even on Shabbos. Parenthetically, I lived in Neve Yaakov when I lived in Eretz Yisrael. I lived in Neve Yaakov. So Neve Yaakov is the northernmost point of Yerushalayim. As a matter of fact, I literally, and I mean this in the most literal sense, I watched from my backyard. I watched the security wall going up. I mean, it was almost in my backyard. It was, it was like looking out at.
There went your view.
Huh?
There went your view.
There was no view actually. It was actually just there was nothing on the other side. It's like a little mountain, and I couldn't see past the mountain. But in my backyard, I'd look at the hill and I'd see the walls, the wall going up, the security wall. But
This one is olive trees.
yeah. I was super happy for it to go up because there were certain times that you'd see people walking over the hill. So there was a question. I remember the question was Neve Yaakov part of Yerushalayim? Because technically it was in their sort of municipality, but it wasn't halachically is it? So, but because it's able to see, because you're able to see those kinds of things, being able to see Yerushalayim. So all that is the halachas of it follows suit with Yerushalayim, and then it kept the at least according to most opinions, it kept the Megillah on that day of Yerushalayim. So Yerushalayim grabs those days. Anybody that was able to see the communities that were able to see Yerushalayim, it grabs those days for Megillah, which was Shishan Purim.
At some point after the temple destruction, we didn't celebrate the Yomi. So how didn't that?
And
We did not do Yomi
Right.
any longer.
Right.
Doesn't this all seem kind of good?
Well,
In a way?
yeah. Yeah.
Just confused.
Well, it did. Well, it was talking about. It's talking about it's understanding the kind of I mean, it was also using it to understand the kind of Rosh Hashanah, but yeah. Okay. The Gemara says. So the Gemara says roa that you have to see it. What is it said? Roa. It said hear it, see it. So it says roa pratli yosheves benachal. This would exclude a town that's in the valley. If you had a town that was in the valley that couldn't see Yerushalayim, even if they were in distance-wise, even if they were distance-wise close by, but they couldn't see it, so they could not keep the halachas of Yerushalayim in the regards to shofar. But not shomas. What does it mean? Hear it. Pratli yosheves b'rosh har. That would be that they couldn't hear it. That would be if they were on a mountaintop, so they could not hear it, even if they had a great view of Yerushalayim, but they couldn't hear it, so they would not be able to keep the halachas of Yerushalayim. Krova, what does it mean close by? Prat liyosheves chutz l'tchum v'yichol lavo. And prat lemafsik la nahara. This would come to exclude if it was close by. It would come to exclude if it was out of the tchum, so they could not actually come. It wasn't. That would not be considered closer proximity since they could not come to Yerushalayim on Shabbos. Or if a river was separating it, even though its proximity was close, However, that would exclude them from keeping the halachas of shofar on Shabbos. Okay. Next Mishnah. Barishona halulav nital b'mikdash shiva. Now, in the beginning, the lulav was taken in the base of Mikdash for 7 days. And on now we're talking about the lulav, of course, obviously. Masachas Rosh Hashanah, and obviously,
Because it's Rosh Hashanah.
and obviously, we're going to be talking about the lulav now. So, so it's just the filing system that they had. Like it's hard to understand. It's hard to understand. We would never file things away the same way they would today.
Seemed like a good time to talk about it.
Well, because because it's the way, because the takanas of
It's a memory train. It's oral. It's the way they link information together, in their minds would be different.
but I'm saying this was compiled into a curriculum. If you would have not compiled it into a curriculum, right? So he did choose. Maybe he chose it the best way to memorize it. I don't know, or maybe he had I think actually I shouldn't say that. The first Tosfos in Maseches Bava Metzia discusses why one Mishnah is following another Mishnah. There, actually, in the Rambam talks about why one Masechta follows another Masechta in his Parish Mishnayos. But there is, okay. Barishana Elul of Nital B'Mikdash Shiva. At the beginning, they would take the originally they would take the lulav in the base of Mikdash for 7 days. Medina Yom Echad, and in the cities they would do lulav and esrog for only 1 day. It's only biblical to do the lulav and esrog for 1 day. The first day is the only biblical day of lulav and esrog, unless you're in the base of Mikdash. And the base of Mikdash, there's some opinions. There's an opinion that's brought down that people want to say in Yerushalayim. It's possible that in Yerushalayim proper, not just the base of Mikdash, but in Yerushalayim proper, that it's for all 7 days. There is a mitzvah to do lulav and esrog, a biblical mitzvah, but biblically speaking, only in the base of Mikdash for sure is there 7 days of lulav and esrog, and in everywhere else is only 1 day. Mishchar base of Mikdash, when the base of Mikdash was destroyed, he's going to Yochanan ben Zakkai shiv lulav nital b'Medina shiva zeichel Mikdash. And when the base of Mikdash was destroyed, he said that in all 7 days, because the base of Mikdash was destroyed, all 7 days, the base of, all 7 days the lulav and esrog should be taken for the whole sukkos, because we didn't have a base of Mikdash in order to remember the Mikdash. V'shei yom hanaf kulo asar, and the entire day of waving, which is going to be talking about, it's going to be talking about when the korban omer was brought, it's going to be prohibited. It's going to be usher to eat from the new crop. Something we'll talk about later. But it's talking about the This is talking about, I guess, Chadash and Yashan, actually. Okay, but in any case, something we'll discuss later. But it's also that whole day to eat the new grain. So, okay, we'll see later. The Gemara says, how do we know that we should do things that are for the remembrance of the base of Mikdash? Ki ala arucha lacha. When the pasuk says Ki ala arucha lacha, I made you a curse. Mimakosayach erpa'ech num Hashem, and from the wound that you had, I'm going to heal you. Kinidacha karola, because even though you were pushed away, called to me. Tzion hidorish einla, and Tzion is calling out. Tzion's seeking, and there's no one that Tzion's calling out, and no one's seeking her. But you see from these verses that you need to seek. You need to be seeking for the Mikdash, so that we try to commemorate and seek for the Mikdash. That's how we. Okay. The Gemara now is going to go on to the last part of the Mishnah. Hold on 1 second. How many more days? Whoa.
It's 10 more, isn't it?
No. What's today's page supposed to be?
That's supposed to be the 30th.
Oh, so no, it's not. No.
That's like page 30.
31, right?
31 is the 31.
Today's supposed to be Lamed Aleph? So we're one full page behind now? Oh my gosh, they're supposed to make a CM this week. Let me, what are we gonna do? Maybe, let me stop for a second. What did you usually do? Do you try to catch up before the CM or does it matter? If you can catch up on Shabbos or else we have to do it in time.
Normally we try to catch this year. I'm trying to think if we.
So, or else then we'll have to add, we can potentially do, I could potentially do it tonight on Zoom and add a day and add a thing. That's another potential thing. Do we want to do that? Maybe tomorrow night actually would be better so I can get a little bit of my head.
Whatever works best for you.